Welcome back to Brandsplaining. I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Allie.
and I virtually have 10% battery on my computer, so we better make this fast and furious and good. I like the thrill of it.
You're pulling a me.
I know.
I'm always living on the edge with 5%.
I think 10% lasts a long time on these new puppies.
Let's hope.
Hold on, I'm gonna try to do a segue here. Speaking of light,
And hope.
today's no, I was doing, like, battery on light on my or power. When the power goes out, Allie, what do you use?
A candle, baby.
That's right, and that was a seamless transition to say that today's episode is about it is, though, about candles, and we love candles.
We really do.
Who doesn't love a candle?
I am currently being assaulted by the smell of apples and fall.
Oh, man, I really if there's one scent of candles that I dislike, it's most things in the fall.
What?
In the fall, y'all. I don't like anything that's, like, a rounded scent. I don't wanna smell apples or cinnamon or any of that stuff. I want
Any of the
clean
round fruits? You prefer bananas and
I don't mean I don't mean the physical shape.
I know. Bananas only.
Ew, a banana candle? Do you think anyone's made a banana candle?
I hope so. What else are you gonna burn? I can't believe that because 'cause I'm all about maybe I'm a little basic, but give me cinnamon, apple, pumpkin,
Mm.
vanilla. I like all of those fall warm scents. Those are my faves.
Well, and that's why we're gonna have to dissolve our company and dissolve this
The last episode of Brandsplaining. You've already invested too much to not put it out.
I was gonna say 2 roads diverged in a wood, and then I was gonna say 2 wicks diverged in a wax, and I lit the one less traveled by. Thank you.
Wow. Robert Rush.
I But we did have a lot of fun today. I guess you wouldn't really have thought about candles and branding because you would probably think that their scent does all the heavy lifting, but in fact, it does not.
We are here to prove you wrong.
I think the thing I'm trying to say is I feel like if you're listening, you probably have a favorite scent of a candle, but candle companies in general don't do a really, distinct job of the other brand elements, except for Evil Queen. That was my second segue of the episode.
Until we met Evil Queen.
Suddenly, it's like a movie trailer.
I wanna hear, like, a big crescendo in the back.
Yeah.
Susan, our podcast editor, put in a big swell of music in the
Yeah.
back of that.
In a world where candles are boring, Evil Queen said. I don't know what she said.
Light that bitch on fire.
Light that industry on fire. Blowing away the competition since 2014.
Whew.
Okay.
Got all those out of our system.
Okay, throw that away, so let's say the real details.
So, on today's episode, we wanted to get into how do you turn the mundane into something memorable? And so we tagged in our dear friend Ida-Sofia Koivuniemi because she's done exactly that. She is the founder of a company called Evil Queen, which is a candle company, and they are committed to bringing just fun and sass and delight and levity into homes around the world and really just making candles fun again, or I guess for the first time.
Right. We joke that Evil Queen candles are like the one candle you don't wanna regift, and I think that's just a testament to her branding, right? And so, like,
Mhm.
other candle companies, their names are gonna be like Fresh Linens or Pumpkin Harvest, and Evil Queen candles are called things like Can't Adult Today or Wash Your Fucking Hands, and it just turns this into the kind of gift you're really excited to get or give, and sort of like something that will bring a smile to your face during a shitty week, which I don't think a lot of people would think of that candles were doing. You know what I mean? Like, she really sort of carved that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that candles prior to Evil Queen, they were the biggest regift. You'd get a candle, you'd kinda look at it and go, who am I gonna pawn this off to at the next holiday or birthday?"
Right.
And hers are just they're so fun, and they smell so wonderful as well. Linz and I, we are both the proud owners of many different varieties. But we got into some really interesting topics around being entrepreneurs and branding,
Mhm.
which really centered around this idea that how surprise and delight can lead to memorable customer experiences, which in turn can help you acquire new customers and attract customer attention and have people coming back to you over and over again, which is ultimately the goal with building any brand.
Right, I think the quality was there in the sense she was doing and the work she was doing, and then the branding is what turned it into a household name and what got
Mhm.
her in all of these stores and has her candles sell out all the time. She's like, I don't intend to do this, but she's still a pretty small operation. So then you have people who are waiting and who can't wait to get their hands on these candles. And that is just like, to use fun in branding to turn your brand into a cult classic is so incredible. And so you're going to learn a lot from her. She has a ton to say about how to sort of own your voice and not be upset when other people's try to sort of mimic it. I think you guys are going to learn a lot from her just on the idea that there is never a market that is so saturated that you can't make your mark if you have the right brand strategy and the brand personality. And I just think that's a really powerful idea.
You could say she really lit her industry on fire, Linz?
I was going to say that her industry is lit, but that makes me feel like ancient. It makes me feel like 75 years old.
Oh, yeah. Let's not go down that really dark hole.
I don't want to wax poetic.
Well, after all those terribly beautiful, wonderful, glorious puns, enjoy today's episode.
And now, for all the women in the business of being women in business. For girl bossy bosses and boss girly girls. For CEOs, mogals, and branding babes ready to make herstory. Please put your lady hands together and welcome to the stage, Brandsplaining.
You're in California, right?
Yeah, I live in Venice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because you've had a lot of Tom Felton run-ins.
Yes. I see him all the time.
Do you really? Hunting down the Harry Potter cast.
Like walking his dog and...
So he lives in Venice or just around?
He lives in Venice. I think I know like the general area because I see him over there all the time.
What kind of dog does he have?
Like a black lab mixed maybe with something, but like a bigger black dog.
Follow it on Instagram, Lynn.
Yeah.
It's great content. I watched him feeding the dog before.
Oh, we found your one window of something you pay attention to on social.
Animal related. I just cycle through dodo content is really all I consume.
Oh, it's the best.
So we're already recording, so we can just get rolling.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, good. Oh my gosh. It's so fun to talk to you. We've obviously known you for so long.
I know.
So before we get into like your career and hear more about what you're doing with Evil Queen, we always start the pod with a question to really kick things off. It's sort of a classic icebreaker that we ask all of our guests. So, what is your very favorite podcast about erotic Harry Potter fan fiction?
Oh, obviously Fangasm.
Oh my God. Wow. Tell us more.
You've been set up. We need to have like a catchphrase after we do that to people where we say, you got brandsplained.
You got splained.
I just splained. I do think the real kickoff question that is like sort of tied to how we want to have like a message to female entrepreneurs that is a little bit different than like sort of girl boss culture or that sort of overly flowery language that we just don't really resonate with. This is our sort of wink at that. And if you had to be called one of the following throughout the rest of your career, you have to choose one of the following. And that's girl boss, lady boss, entrepreneur, power babe, mogal, or CEO. And you had to be called one.
On your business cards.
Oh, I hate all of them.
I know. So do we.
Pick your poison.
Oh man. Maybe Mogal?
Oh yeah, I love it.
I don't know.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as like a portmanteau of a cheesy girl bossy type of made up title.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks enough like mogul that you can get away with it.
Yeah.
That question is sort of like the would you rathers that are all horrible. It's like, would you rather have hands for feet or feet for hands or something like that? Those are terrible questions.
We do those at Evil Queen all the time. Someone will just
You
be
do?
like, okay, let's play Would You Rather for like an hour.
What's the hardest one or best one you've heard lately? Can you think of any?
They think of really weird ones like, would you rather only drink salt water for the rest of your life or only eat earwax? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
You're like, these are horrible options.
And die either way,
Right.
clearly.
Yeah. How do you want to go down?
Yeah. I would eat earwax.
You would?
I think I'd put it on like a peanut butter sandwich.
Oh my gosh. Don't talk to us about like your plans.
No? Try to make it palatable. All right. Well, enough about our weird vices. And back to you, Ida-Sofia. So just to get into some questions about Evil Queen, tell us a little bit more about your mission behind Evil Queen and just this whole idea of making candles fun again?
Yeah. Well, it all started in 2016. I just kind of actually, there's a funny story. I was driving downtown Los Angeles, which is near where I used to live, and I saw a flower shop and it was called Basic Flowers. And I thought that was the worst name for a flower shop I'd ever heard. I was like, who would want to buy stuff from there? But so I made a joke. I was like, oh, basic flowers for the basic bitch in your life. And then I was like, wait, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that just sparked me being like, I should do something fun and funny. And that was just something that came to mind. And then I worked next to a Bath and Body Works, and I just noticed people love candles. And then I kind of connected the two, and I was like, okay, people love candles. I can't find funny candles on the market anywhere at the time when I was doing this. And I was like, there's no way this doesn't exist. And it really didn't. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I didn't know how to make candles before I started Evil Queen. I just had the idea and kind of ran with it, bought one of those candle making kits from Michael's. Turned out horribly. I was like, oh no, I can't. I was like, this is not it for me. I was like, I can't do this. But, just persevered and started designing labels, had a really good support system that was always encouraging me, and kind of went from there. Someone one time told me right when I started, she was like, candles used to be such a boner killer gift, but you made them exciting again.
It's so true.
I was like, that's so real.
It used to be the thing that you regifted. You would get a candle and you'd go, meh. And you'd go, oh, this is something good to give to someone I barely know when I get invited to a housewarming or some, dinner, just a generic experience. So
Yeah.
that's really fun. I just love that you've taken what used to be considered this really basic cliche gift and turned it on its head. It was brilliant.
That is so great. Yeah, I feel like I used to feel that way about greeting cards, and they've come a long way since. But I remember like a decade ago, I was like, I cannot find a card that and so I feel like the entire gifting industry can tend to be really stuck in sort of like expected cliche things. And so I think when a brand like Evil Queen comes out the gate being like, this is different and this is fresh and this is funny and we're not taking ourselves so seriously, people really are excited. Do you feel like people give your candles more than they buy them for themselves? Or do you have data on that? Is it more of a gift or more for themselves or both?
I feel like a ton of people do gift the candles, and I can always tell because it's one candle. But then I feel like people gift them, and then those same people will come back and buy 6 candles for themselves. Because they're like, this was so funny. My boss gave me this, and now I love your candles. So I think that's the introduction to Evil Queen for a lot of people. And then they come back for more.
Where did the name Evil Queen come from? What was the inspo for that? Because the name is so great and so memorable. And yeah, it's fantastic.
I really wish I had a cool story for this, but I don't. Everyone asks, and I'm like, I should just make up some cool story.
Yeah. You could try it out here, and we'll see if that resonates.
Yeah. Well, the real story is that back in college, I had done some sort of project. I went to school for merchandise marketing and business management. So I did a lot of marketing projects. And I had done some logo design for something called Evil Queen, maybe back in 2012 or 2013. And after I had the idea for Evil Queen, I was just looking through an old notebook, and I opened to that page, and it was all these Evil Queen logo designs that I had drawn for some project in school. And I was like, oh, that's kind of perfect. I was like, why don't I just do that? So kind of a serendipitous moment, but yeah.
It was just a fake made up brand for a project in school.
Yeah.
How ideal that worked out.
Yeah.
And what do you tell people it signifies or it means? Do people ask that a lot, or are they just sort of this is fun and catchy?
Yeah, sometimes people ask. I tell them it's my alter ego.
It sort of does align. It seems like a big season for you is fall and the release of fall candles, and your customers really anticipate them. Evil Queen feels in that witchy fall. So that also feels like a fun tie-in. Speaking of that, are subscription boxes new for you, or have you guys been doing that for a while?
I started the subscription box in 2018. So it's been a few years, and I'm potentially doing, this is insider information, but I'm potentially doing changing up the subscription box and actually potentially changing some of our branding and stuff too. So I'm excited about it.
Can you share insight into some directions you're considering or any shifts in your business?
Yeah, I feel like when I started Evil Queen, I was pretty young. I was 22, and not I'm not that person anymore, but I've definitely grown up. I'm 27 now. So I just feel like I want to take it in a more kind of grown-up direction. So different jars, potentially, that's a whole nother story, but I'm having issues with some of my suppliers and kind of being forced to make a change. So I was like, if I have to make a change, I might as well make it how I want it to be. Like I'm not just going to change a small thing. I'm just going to change it all because that's the kind of person I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, like different jars, different labels, same names, same humor and stuff, just kind of in a more maybe mature way.
Yeah, speaking of your labels, they're like one of my favorite things is that, and I don't think I knew that every part of the label is your handwriting. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, except for the part that's font, but I draw the pictures and it's my handwriting. Yeah.
That is so fun. And you do all the naming, right? Yourself? Or do you have like a team that weighs in on that? Or is that like you?
I pretty much come up with them. Sometimes if I'm stuck, I'll ask my sister. And I have a really good friend. Her name's Shelly, and she's really funny. So we kind of brainstorm together. But yeah, pretty much just me and sometimes my sister and Shelly.
Well, the names are so clever and the descriptions are great. You have a really nice description formula where it's actual ingredient, and then just like this fun little clever thing that ties back to the name. My favorite candle in your collection, the one that I've ordered online, is Damn It's Early. I absolutely adore that one. I think I have one burning in my house right now downstairs. But I would love to hear some of your favorite candle names and descriptions because we've been fortunate enough to receive some of those as gifts by you, and we fell madly in love. But yeah, what are some of your classics or your favorites that you've developed over the years?
I really personally like champagne showers. I think it's funny. It reminds me of my 21st birthday in Vegas. So based on a real story.
Sounds like a good birthday.
Yeah. I really like Damn It's Early too, and Can't Adult Today. I feel like it's very relatable. And those were some of my like earlier candles that I thought of. Hangover Cure I don't sell anymore, but I really liked that one too.
What was that one? What were the scents?
I think it was like cinnamon and sugar and hashtag never drinking again.
No.
Do you still sell the wash your fucking hands one?
I don't right now, but I think so many people want me to bring it back. I might bring it back as like a limited run again.
It is my boyfriend's favorite. He's always like, when can we get the wash your fucking hands candle again? It's like the best smell and obviously like a really funny sentiment considering the times.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to bring it back for like a small run again.
That's a perfect candle to keep in your bathroom. This is a little nudge to your guests.
I feel like that leads me to another question sort of tied to that. I feel like there's a cool sense of authentic exclusivity or urgency because the candles sometimes have limited runs. Was that a strategic decision? And how do you decide which ones are in the vault and which ones are for sale?
Yeah, that actually kind of happened unintentionally. Like right now, I can't keep my fall candles in stock, and that's not because I don't want to. It's not because I'm trying to create like a limited run of them. It's because they're way more popular than I anticipated, and I don't have enough staff right now. And due to COVID, we can't get enough supplies quickly. It's like a whole mess.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I think people definitely I get people who are angry with me, but people kind of like, I have to buy right now, otherwise I'm not going to get it.
Right.
And I think that's why people like the subscription box is because it's a new candle every month that's never before seen.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
So you're like part of an exclusive club, and then you can't ever get that candle again unless I, bring it back. So all my seasonal collections only stay for the season and then they go away. And then it's never guaranteed that I'll bring a candle back for the next season because I try and stay relevant with, like this year I have a candle called Ghosted. Maybe last year Ghosted wasn't as relevant.
Right. I feel like that's something that's so nice about being a small business where you get to have a lot of influence on those decisions. I feel like we relate to that with our business, and being able to be nimble is such a key part of staying relevant and succeeding and being like, what is energizing me? What is my audience liking? I feel like that's just a nice thing to be able to steer that ship because you still have all control of those decisions, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Evil Queen is still very small. I mean, it maybe doesn't seem as small, but I have a staff of between 5 and 6 at my warehouse, and then a couple contractors and a business manager, and that's it. And then me. So it's still like a very small team of us, trying to do the best we can.
Well, I think it's so nice to Lindsay's point about being able to stay nimble. You also have such clarity in terms of the creative direction of your business, which I think that also lends itself to having a really good pulse on when to pivot, when to adjust, when to shift, what's resonating, what's not, what to push forward and maybe market more, what to pull back. I think a lot of times when people are running their business, they lose sight of that creative aspect and lose a little bit of creative control. And so I think it's really cool that you've maintained that and stayed so intertwined and involved in your business that I think you can make those adjustments pretty easily, which is great.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always said that too. I'm really hesitant to have too many like investors. I don't have any right now, but I like being in control of the decisions. And like I wanted to do the wash your fucking hands candle and it was available the next week. I didn't have to go through a big line of people to be like, do you think we should do this? Should I release this? Should I not? Whatever. If I decide I want to do something, we can just do it.
Yeah, that's great.
So what's a common misconception about what you do, either like your role or your industry at large, that you think people don't understand?
I mean, I think this is a cliche answer, but I don't think people understand how much work it is, especially I try not to work at the warehouse anymore. I gave up the actual candle making about a year ago. But the past 3 weeks, I've been there every day making candles because we've been short-staffed. And not only do I have to then be at the warehouse, but then I have to come home and do my actual work, which is, actual business stuff that's not always so fun. And then also the creative stuff, which is fun. But I don't know that people really understand, like, there's so much that I have to do and everything kind of falls on me. It's always my fault. If my employees mess up, it's my fault. And that's fine. But I don't know that people understand, I guess, how much pressure there is on me to like maintain this image of, like everything's fine and I can handle it. When really I'm like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming most of the time.
Right. I think that also tends to happen when you're either in an industry that people think is fun, like gifting and like beauty and care and things like that, or your branding is fun. I feel like we get that a lot. That's like, oh, you guys just get to write jokes for a living, or you get to do X, Y, and Z. And you're like, but we're also the people running the business at every side of it. So yeah, I relate to that a lot. I think it especially happens with fun. People are like, oh, I want to run my own business. I want to make candles. And you're like, okay.
I'm like, yeah, do you?
Yeah.
It's so true. People think making candles is fun. And, you get to design your own labels. You get to pour candles all day. And I'm like, yeah, that's like a very small part of, what I have to do in a normal day.
Yes. Yeah, they forget all the non-sexy components of running a business. It's overseeing a team. It's managing client relationships and orders. It's finances. It's operations. It's systems. It's all these things that allow the end result to look really seamless and look really easy and have a great user experience. But that takes a ton of work and it just never ends. So
yeah, never.
Yeah, we feel your pain.
I get emails at like midnight.
Yeah.
Right.
It's challenging too because we make the products. Like I don't outsource the making of the candles. I've now outsourced the shipping of my candles, but we still make them all in-house. And it's like we hand pour everything, we hand label everything. It's still very much a handmade business. We don't have big machinery, big labeling machines, whatever. So that's when people are like, why aren't you restocking more? And it's like, we can only make so many candles a day. We're only, so many people.
Right. Was there a moment, in Evil Queen's history, or probably the early years, where you were like, okay, I think I'm really onto something with this, or a big win that made you sort of go all in? Is there a moment that comes to mind for you?
Well, surprisingly enough, when I first started Evil Queen, the first day I launched, I had 2 stores DM me saying they wanted to carry my candles.
Oh,
and I was like, oh my God, I haven't even made line sheets. Like I thought I was just going to sell these to my friends. And I was like, maybe I'll sell like a couple candles today. And then I panicked because I was like, oh no, are people actually going to like these? Because I had another job. Evil Queen wasn't supposed to be my real job.
Yeah.
So, and then later that year, maybe 6 months later, I did a big collaboration with Jack Vanek and we got our candles into Nasty Gal. And that's when I was like,
oh, wow.
Oh no. It's like, I was still making candles on my stove. I was like, something has to change. But I was like, oh, people actually like them. I was nervous because like I said, I hadn't seen anything like this on the market. So I didn't really know how it would go over or if people would be like, those are stupid or, why are you trying so hard to be funny? Or I don't know. You just never know.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's definitely resonated because I do think you were so early in the market and you've been able to carve out such a niche with the wit and cleverness. And also, I think another element is you just have a really good quality, delightful smelling line of candles. So I think that has only added a ton of value. So in terms of your uniqueness, we remember you did a really cool story series about how you think there's enough room for everyone in your industry. And now you've started to see that brands have popped up that are really emulating your style. And you talked about how it doesn't really bother you.
Yeah.
Can you expound on that a little bit? Because I think that would send most people spiraling and to see their, unique creative idea being ripped off and copycatted. So, yeah, I want to hear how you have the mental fortitude to persevere.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like there's room for everyone. I think now that Evil Queen is a little bigger, when people are copying my ideas or, my label format or whatever it is, people always send them to me and they're like, aren't you so upset? This person is copying you or doing your labels. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's actually hurting them more than it is hurting me because you guys are seeing them and you guys are now commenting and telling them that they're copying me. It more makes me sad. Like, I wish that the people believed in their own ideas enough to put them out, Like, I wish everyone's a unique person. Whatever you come up with, people are going to like because they like you. So I just wish that everyone realized that there's enough room for us all to succeed with our own unique ideas. And it doesn't really bother me that people copy me. Like I said, I more just feel a little sad about it. Like, I feel upset when my customers go on and bash them. I'm like, please don't do that. I don't want them to feel like, because they do some deep digging. They're like, the owner's sister follows you. And I'm like, how do you know that? Why are you spending so much time on this? Which is I feel very flattered that people, like Evil Queen enough to do that. But I want everyone to do something they love and be happy doing what they do. And if they like making candles, please, by all means, make candles. People will buy them. I wish everyone believed in their own ideas enough to go forward with those.
I really commend you for having that mindset and that attitude. And I think it speaks volume to when you have a idea, how you have to just put blinders on to everyone else. And because I think there's so many people who are very fear driven and very fear based when they are making branding and marketing decisions for their own brand. So then they start to rip off other people who they've seen do it well, thinking that that's going to work for them. I mean, we see it a ton when people will come to us and they'll say, oh, I like these people in my industry. I want a brand like them. And we say, well, you can't have a brand like them. They already have a brand like them. People already resonate with that brand. They know that brand. They like that brand. They remember that brand. If you come on the market and try to copycat that, you're really going to do yourself a disservice because you're going to lose people's respect. You're going to miss opportunities to really carve out your own niche. People aren't going to be talking about you. They're going to be talking about the things that you're talking about, Ida-Sofia, is that, hey, look at this, B+ grade version of this brand that I already admire. And I wish more people would be driven less by fear and more by the opportunity to really get creative in their industry and find their niche and their sweet spot, because there is room for everyone, no matter how saturated a market. I mean, look at you. You entered into a market that there were a ton of people making candles, but you found a way to make them that were fresh and unique and delightful, and boom, that idea hit. So I really commend you for your approach.
Yeah, thanks. I totally agree with what you said. People are afraid of putting their own ideas out there. And something that I always like to tell people is you have to believe in your idea more than anything else. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. If you believe in your idea, other people will too. But if you're like, well, here's my product, I hope you like it, then people are going to be like, why would I like it if you don't even like it?
Right. And I think especially when it comes to humor, since humor is so nuanced and it's so personal, we also believe that there's so many ways to have playfulness, so many ways to have levity and positivity, and it can take a million tones. So just because someone else is like, I would love to have a funny or fun candle company that someone would want to gift, doesn't mean that they need to do it in the Evil Queen voice, because you know what I mean? Like, you've developed this brand personality that's distinct, but there's so many other ways people can play with humor. But I think the fear comes in because they go, well, I've seen that succeed, so maybe that's better than my sense of humor, the sense of humor I imagine my audience would like, when there's just so much room, I think.
Definitely. And everyone has a different sense of humor. Everyone likes different things, there's definitely a market for you. You just have to find it. And I always think it's much better to have almost like a cult-like following of a small group of people than generally be liked by everyone.
We agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, we think being polarizing is a good thing. We want people to, at least about our brand, and it feels that way about Evil Queen as well, to instinctively know who we are and what we're about and get a feel for it. You don't have to interact with your brand long to know who you are. And I think that's the signal of a strong brand personality to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ida-Sofia, to this idea that you've really stayed in your own lane a ton when it comes to how you've branded and marketed Evil Queen. What's a branding or marketing trend that maybe you saw in your industry or maybe the gifting industry at large that you never really bought into, that you never got swept up in?
That's a really interesting question. Honestly, this probably sounds bad, but goes with the like stay in your lane. I barely even follow other candle companies or look at what they're doing. There's like a couple big ones that I kind of look up to and admire just based on how they grew their operations. I love seeing, what their warehouse looks like. I'm like, oh, how can I make my warehouse be more efficient? But I don't really think there's any trend that I can think of that I even know of. Like I said, I think I just kind of forge my own path and hope for the best.
Yeah, sometimes ignorance is bliss in a way with marketing, is that you don't get caught up in what everyone else is doing. So, yeah, it does breed some individual creativity and unique approaches when you're not trying to just replicate what else is out there. So, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think the more I look at other candle companies, because most of them aren't funny, they're just like pumpkin spice or walk in the woods or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the more I look at those, the more sometimes I feel like, oh no, what if people want just that? I think it's detrimental to me to look at other candle companies sometimes because I'm like, well, these candles are in Whole Foods and they're not funny or whatever. So sometimes I get caught up in that. So it's better for me to just be like, I'm just going to do me.
It's really true. So you're a creative person, you're a poet, you're a musician, and now you're an entrepreneur. Looking back on your childhood, is there anything that would have hinted that you would be doing what you're doing today? Like, is there any part about your kid personality, your upbringing that you think sort of led you to be willing to take a creative risk or do what you're doing?
So both of my parents are technically self-employed. So I never had a family that lived like a 9-to-5 lifestyle. So I didn't even know what that looked like. My dad is a professional bowler. And
that's right. Oh my God. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like so random. Yeah, so my dad's a professional bowler. So he would be like on tour, bowling tour. And then my mom stayed home to watch us. And she's also a massage therapist. So I just didn't grow up with like a normal job kind of situation, which I feel grateful for because I've never wanted to work a 9-to-5. I've always been like, that doesn't seem like my path. My parents are super supportive and they've always said like, you can do anything you want. There's nothing that can go so wrong that you can't fix it. And you might as well try. Like that's the reason I started Evil Queen. I was like, but Mom, what if it fails and I lose all my money? And I had maybe $500 at the time. Yeah, I was like, all my money. And she's like, okay, and then what? Then you get another job, you'll be fine. So it's very inspiring. Yeah, my mom has always just been like, there's literally nothing you can do. And I'm like, even if I go to jail? And she's like, yeah.
Well, we might have to revisit that unconditional love then. I don't know if this has ever come up on our Fangasm podcast, but I dated a pro bowler for 2 years.
No, you didn't.
I swear, when I was in college, my college boyfriend, when I was 20 and 21, he was getting into his professional bowling career.
What's his name?
Oh my God. I don't really know where his career has taken him.
Yeah, I don't know him.
I mean, I have no idea how pro or how good. At the time, I was, not to like turn this into this ridiculous story from my early 20s, but I was there the day he got his first 300 ring and I used to wear it on a necklace.
You've never told me that. You've never told me that.
So embarrassed. This big, chunky, huge ring I used to wear in this dainty little chain around my neck. Oh boy.
That is so funny.
This is why Allie would never go bowling with me. I think bowling is such a fun thing to do. And I think you got burnt out, right?
Well, yeah, I love bowling, but I was so inundated with it for years. And that was back in the time where you could smoke in the bowling alleys. And so I'm in my prime. I want to go out to the bar and my boyfriend wants to bowl every weekend nonstop. So I'm sitting in smoky ass bowling alleys with all older men in their 50s. And that's how I'm spending my early 20s. And it was so funny. I think it was for my birthday. He was so excited to give me a birthday gift. And he got me it was a Kate Spade bowling bag. Like, that's what I wanted. And a bowling ball with my name engraved on it. But I mean, I do love bowling, but I think I may have had a fill for a lifetime. So I think it's incredible that your father is a professional bowler. That's Amazing.
Yeah, very random profession.
Is he still like competing?
So he retired from professionally bowling a few years, maybe like 5 years ago. He still comes to bowl like the senior US Open and, like PBA 50 tour. He lives in Dubai and he coaches the national UAE bowling team there.
No way. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a global superstar,
Yeah.
not just US. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're from Finland. Moved here when I was young, and we moved here for my dad's bowling career. So I think that's maybe another reason. Back to the question, my parents took a huge risk moving our life here for my dad's bowling career. And I mean, it worked out, luckily, but I grew up around people who weren't afraid to take risks. And I'm sure that's what made me who I am.
For sure.
Yeah. Like, what great role models to then carry that through to your adulthood, where you're taking these creative risks that a lot of people would be too afraid to, is to start your own company.
Yeah.
So yeah, look at that, coming full circle. One last question before we get into the game we always play with our guests.
Which now sounds like a trap. If we say we always do it, now it sounds like a setup. It really is just a closing game. It is fun. We won't haze you.
A legitimate game, I promise. But before we get into that, since women are your core consumer, primarily, we would imagine, what parts of your marketing message do you think specifically speak to women in a different way than maybe companies have in the past or folks in your industry have in the past? Where do you see that fresh tone and that fresh perspective really shaping the way women engage with your brand?
I almost feel like Evil Queen allows people to rethink what they think is funny. I feel like sometimes as women, we're supposed to just be like prim and proper and not swear or whatever. And then they see some of my candles and they're like, oh, well, I actually do think this is funny. So I feel like maybe just encouraging people to rethink what the world kind of tells us in terms of what we're supposed to think is funny or whatever. And, like bitches who brunch, things are catered toward women. And I think that definitely helps also, just like the actual words and the actual jokes.
Well, I feel like something that humor is able to do so well is like communicate a shared truth or a relatability, and that people see that, like the hangover candle you're talking about of like never drinking again. There's just all of those. What's the one you sent me? I love the way it smells. Moody Bitch. Would that have been what it was called?
Yeah.
I had that up on my like bar cart in my kitchen. And anyone who saw it was like, that is so, I don't know. It's just like reclaiming a part of our personality that maybe isn't always celebrated. And then I think tied into a category that is sometimes dismissed.
Yeah.
Things that women like, I think people dismiss them, like candles or gifts or pillows or the fall or reality television or all of these things, when hobbies that men like that are just as trivial maybe are more legitimized. And so I feel like that also helps, not to get too meta about it, but I just feel like to be like, I love the fall and I don't need to like shit on that. And I can poke fun at myself that I'm obsessed with it. What is one of your, you have a fall candle that has something with the word witch in it?
Big witch energy.
Yeah.
And batshit crazy is a new one.
Yes. That tone, I feel like instead of like dismissing it, it celebrates it and lets you like own it. And I think that's empowering to people.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. I just want women to feel like they can also have fun with things and laugh and kind of like make fun of yourself, like can't adult today.
Yeah.
It's very relatable to probably everyone,
Right.
Especially women who are working and, juggling a bunch of different things all the time. You can be like, I can't adult today. And then you can see your friend who'd be like, neither can I. And that makes you feel better that you're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, you get to be in on the joke. Linz and I really love brands, and even just the way our other podcast is that we always want folks to be in on the joke. And I think when you have a really funny, clever candle with a silly name that feels like it's reflective or representative of your personality, you get to own the joke and make the joke before someone else does. So someone doesn't get to call you a moody bitch when you've already claimed it on your bar cart.
Yeah.
Lindsay's bar cart. Lindsay
Right.
bar cart. That's a whole nother topic. And when she gets to claim that on her bar cart, that she has a candle that says she's a moody bitch. And so she gets to be in on the joke. And I think that that's a real delight for folks.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I think it's time for the game. Allie, do you want to tee it up or do you want me to tee it up?
Ooh. Yeah, you tee it up.
Okay, so we came up with this game and it's called Guess Who Brand Mascot. So basically, you remember the game Guess Who as a kid where you each had your little board and you would be like, are they wearing glasses? That kind of thing. We're going to give you a few clues about a sort of famous mascot of a brand, mascot or logo. and you have to guess. And if you don't get it with our first clue, you can ask 3 yes or no questions.
Okay.
Sort of like, is it an animal? Is it a cereal brand? Like that kind of thing. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. We have follow-up clues.
What if I don't know it?
Then you'll ask questions and we'll tell you. You will.
Okay.
Yeah, we won't completely shame you if you don't get it.
Only a little bit, right?
We'll never air this episode is what we're going to do.
Perfect.
We're going to air it, and that's just going to be the title of the episode. This bitch couldn't get
Please do.
If you don't get this, the way this goes is then we start a competing company against Evil Queen.
Yeah.
Called Angel Kings. I don't know.
Good king.
Okay, Allie, you do the first.
Okay. The first one is, the clue for this brand mascot. This 6-foot-tall, fun-loving mascot is notorious for answering the calls of thirsty children by smashing through walls, yelling his catchphrase.
Oh, the Kool-Aid Man?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about? Did you ever watch Whitest Kids You Know on YouTube?
No.
They made like a parody of the Kool-Aid Man. That's what I was thinking of. It's horrible. Don't watch it. Like very inappropriate.
Ida-Sofia, extra points if you can remember his catchphrase.
Oh my God. Doesn't he just say like, oh yeah, or something?
Oh yeah.
I had to rack my brain for that one. I haven't seen a Kool-Aid commercial. I don't even know how long.
It's in there. It's deep in your psyche.
And the cool thing I found out while we were researching these is that the art director who made the Kool-Aid Man, it was in 1954. And he was inspired by watching his son draw smiley faces on frosted windows.
Cute.
So cute. Like he was like, oh, what if a little frosty pitcher smashed through walls
aggressively?
That went kind of 0 to 100.
Yeah. The kids were very thirsty. He had to get there. And don't they like drink out of him? Or does he dip cups in himself? What does he do?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember the aftermath.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably have to just clean up the smashed bricks.
Maybe it cuts before they actually take a sip of the Kool-Aid from his body.
Yikes.
Okay. The last one, here's the clue.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this brand mascot is a sly, smooth-voiced cheetah who describes himself as a hip kitty. He usually speaks in rhyme, and he loves to sneak up on unsuspecting strangers and eat their snacks.
It's not Carol Baskin.
I never watched Tiger King.
Oh, hip kitty.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, does she eat snacks? And then I get it, hip kitty.
The only thing that comes to mind is the Cheetos tiger, or is it a tiger?
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
He's a cheetah. His first name starts with a ch.
I have no idea. I would guess something stupid like Charles.
It is Chester.
Oh, Chester. Yeah.
Chester.
That makes sense.
Cheetah. But now, anytime I see him, I'm going to be like, Charlie. Charlie the cheetah. And his catchphrase was, it's not easy being cheesy, which is a personal catchphrase of mine.
Yeah. Relatable.
Personal hero. She has a hip tattoo with Chester Cheeto.
Mm-hmm. You just called him Chester Cheeto.
Oh, Chester Cheetah.
Yeah. That's so smart. Cheeto the cheetah. Ida-Sofia, it was a delight having you on. Your brand is amazing. You're amazing. Where should people go? Point us in the direction of your website and your social handles for people who are listening.
Yeah. Our Instagram is just @evilqueen. And our website is shopevilqueen.com. And so is our Twitter @shopevilqueen.
Wonderful.
Yes. And we'll keep an eye out for your new branding. Is that going to be happening like early next year or soonish?
Yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully I can get things going by then.
Yeah, amidst all of your 7,000 things you're doing.
Right. Just in my spare time, my like 5 minutes a day.
In between pouring candles, designing logos.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being a guest. We've loved you for years. You are absolutely wonderful. So thanks for also being our friend.
Oh, yeah. The feeling is so mutual.
Oh, yay.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you and thank you.
And thank you.
And again, I'd like to close by saying thank you. And the takeaway for listeners is thank you.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye. To stay up to date with the Bad Girls of Branding, a nickname we gave ourselves, subscribe to the podcast everywhere you listen. And if you like what you're hearing, leave a 5-star review.
And follow us at Brandsplaining on Instagram and Facebook, and at Brandsplain on Twitter, or go to brandsplainingpod.com.
Brandsplaining is brought to you by the Obedient Podcast Network, with production support by Martini Hill, cover art illustration by Halela, and special projects by Orly Spire.
Other podcasts developed by the Obedient Podcast Network include Forward, bringing you the weirdest emails and mass messages from everyone's craziest relatives. And Fangasm, where we read erotic fan fiction about your favorite TV, movie, and book characters. Think Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, The Office, and Star Wars, to name a few.